In the Jehovah's Witness translation of the Bible called the New World Translations, and yes, I will read other translations in the future, so don't get hung up on translation. Now it came about in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goim, that these made war with Bera, king of Sodom, and with Birsha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, and Shimber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is to say, Zoar. All these marched as allies to the low plain of Siddim, that is, the Salt Sea. 12 years they had served Chedorlaomer, but the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year Chedorlaomer came, and also the kings who were with him. And they inflicted defeats on the Rephaim in Ashtaroth, Karnaim, and the Zuzim in Ham, and the Emim in Sherver-Kir-Elathim, and the Horites in their mountain of Seir, down to El-Paran, which is at the wilderness. Then they turned about and came to En-Mishpat, that is, Kadesh, and defeated the whole field of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites, who were dwelling in Hazan Tamar. At this point the king of Sodom went on to march, and also the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, this is to say Zoar, and they drew up in battle order against them in the low plain of Siddim, against Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goim, and Amphrael, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elsar, 4 kings against the 5. Now the low plains of Siddim was pits upon pits of bitumen, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah took flight and went falling into them, and those who remained fled to the mountainous region. Then the victors took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food, and went on their way. They also took Lot, the son of Abram's father, and his goods, and continued on their way. He was then dwelling in Sodom. After that, a man who had escaped and came and told Abram the Hebrew. He was the tabernacling among the big trees of Mamre the Amorite, the brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner, and they were confederates of Abram. Thus Abram got to hear that his brother had been taken captive. With that he mustered his trained men, 318 slaves born in his household, and went in pursuit up to Dan. And by night he resorted to dividing his forces, he and his slaves, against them, and thus he defeated them and kept in pursuit of them to Hobah, which is north of Damascus. And he proceeded to recover all the goods, and he recovered also Lot his brother and his goods, and also the women and the people. Then the king of Sodom went out to meet him after he returned from defeating Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, to the low plain of Sheveh, that is, the king's low plain. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine, and he was priest of the Most High God. Then he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, producer of heaven and earth, and blessed be the Most High God, who has delivered your oppressors into your hand. At that Abram gave him 1/10 of everything. After that King Sodom said to Abram, Give me the souls, but take the goods for yourself. At this Abram said to the king of Sodom, I do lift up my hand in an oath to Jehovah, the Most High God, producer of heaven and earth, that from a thread to a sandal lace, no, I shall take nothing from anything that is yours, in order that you may not say, It was I who made Abram rich. Nothing for me, only that the young men have already eaten, and share of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their share. Genesis 15. After these things The word of Jehovah came to Abram in a vision, saying, Do not fear, Abram, I am a shield for you. Your reward will be very great. At this Abram said, Sovereign Lord Jehovah, what will you give me, seeing that I am going childless, and the one who will possess my house is a man of Damascus? Eliezer? And Abram added, Look, you have given me no seed, and look, a son of my household is succeeding me as heir. But look, the word of Jehovah to him was in these words, This man will not succeed you as heir, but one who will come out of your own inward parts will succeed you as heir. He now brought him outside and said, Look up, please, to the heavens and count the stars, if you are possibly able to count them. And he went on to say to him, So your seed will become. And he put faith in Jehovah, and he proceeded to count it to him as righteousness. Then he added to him, I am Jehovah who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to take it in possession. To this he said, Sovereign Lord Jehovah, by what shall I know that I shall take it in the possession? In turn he said to him, Take for me a 3-year-old heifer, and a 3-year-old she-goat, and a 3-year-old ram, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. So he took all these to himself, and cut them in two, and put each part of them so as to match the other. But the birds he did not cut in pieces, and the birds of prey began to descend upon the carcasses, but Abram kept driving them away. After a while the sun was about to set, and a deep sleep fell upon Abram. And look, a frightfully great darkness was falling upon him. And he began to say to Abram, You may know for sure that your seed will become an alien resident in a land not theirs, and they will have to serve them, and these will certainly afflict them for 400 years. But the nation that they will serve I am judging, and after that they will go out with many goods. As for you, you will go to your forefathers in peace. You will be buried at a good old age. But in the 4th generation they will return here, because the error of the Amorites has not yet come to completion. The sun was now setting, and a dense darkness came, and look, a smoking furnace and a fiery torch that passed in between these places. On that day Jehovah concluded with Abram a covenant, saying, To your seed I will give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates, the Canaanites and the Kenizzites and the Kadmonites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaim and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites. Genesis 16. Now Sarai, Abraham's wife, had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian maidservant, and her name was Hagar. Hence Sarai said to Abram, Please now, Jehovah has shut me off from bearing children. Please have relations with my maidservant. Perhaps I may get children from her. So Abram listened to the voice of Sarai. Then Sarai, Abraham's wife, took Hagar, her Egyptian maidservant, at the end of 10 years of Abram's dwelling in the land of Canaan, and gave her to Abram, her husband's wife. Accordingly, he had relations with Hagar. When she became aware that she was pregnant, then her mistress began to despise her in her eyes. At this Sarai said to Abram, The violence done me upon you, I myself gave my maidservant over to your bosom, and she became aware that she was pregnant, and I began to be despised in her eyes. May Jehovah judge between me and you. So Abram said to Sarai, Look, your maidservant is at your disposal. Do to her what is good in your eyes. Then Sarai began to humiliate her so that she ran away from her. Oh, it's so sad. It's terrible. So sad. Later, Jehovah's angel found her at a fountain of waters in the wilderness, at the fountain on the way to Shur. And he began to say, Hagar, maidservant of Sarai, just where have you come from, and where are you going? To this she said, "Why, from Sarai my mistress I am running away." And Jehovah's angels went on to say to her, "Return to your mistress and humble yourself under her hand." Then Jehovah's angel said to her, "I shall greatly multiply your seed so that it will not be numbered for multitude." Further, Jehovah's angel added to her, "Here you are pregnant, and you shall give birth to a son, and must call his name Ishmael, for Jehovah has heard your affliction. As for him, he will become a zebra of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and the hand of everyone will be against him. And before the face of all his brothers he will tabernacle." 13. Verse 13. Then she began to call the name of Jehovah who was speaking to her. "You are a God of sight." For she said, "Have I here actually looked upon him who sees me?" That is why the well was called Be'er Laharoi. Here it is between Kadesh and Bered. Later on, Hagar bore to Abram a son, and Abram called the name of his son whom Hagar bore Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old at Hagar's bearing Ishmael to Abram. Alright, family. We'll leave off on that part. We'll start 17.